We continue now at the top of Daf Pei Beis Amud Aleph in Meseches Nedarim. This is Nedarim Daf 82a. And the previous Amud, the Gemara asked, is a neder regarding Tashmish Hamita, is that considered to be a neder of inoi nefesh, of affliction, or is that considered to be a neder beino leveina, of things that have to do with the relationship between husband and wife? And the Gemara is in the middle of bringing a proof from a Mishnah. The Mishnah says, let's say a woman says that Tashmish Hamita is going to be prohibited with all Jews. And so the Gemara says, Yafer Chelko, so her husband, he should annul his portion of the vow, so that he's permitted now to his wife, Umesham Shaso, and then they can have relations, Utei Netula min HaYehudim, but she's still going to be prohibited from all other Jews. And so the Gemara now says, V'iyamrit neder inoi nefesh have. Now, if you're going to say that a neder that has to do with prohibiting Tashmish Hamita is a neder of affliction, so amai tehei netula min HaYehudim, why is she prohibited from all other Jews? Because we said by a neder of inoi nefesh, once the husband annuls the vow, it's completely annulled. So Shema Mina, you see from this, Devarim Shebeino Leveina Havyan. You see that according to this, that really the neder that has to do with Tashmish Hamita is considered a neder that has to do with their relationship. That's why when he annuls the vow, it's only permitted, she's only permitted with him, she's not permitted with anybody else. But the Gemara continues, L'Rabbanan tiboylach mishum denetula ani min haYehudim Rabbi Yossi katanila. The Gemara says still, according to the Rabbanan, we still have the same question. The question remains in terms of a neder that has to do with Tashmish Hamita. Is that going to be considered a neder of inoi nefesh, or is that going to be considered a neder of Devarim Shebeino Leveina? Because this Mishnah that you're bringing a proof from is actually Rabbi Yossi. This Mishnah only proves that according to Rabbi Yossi, it's Devarim Shebeino Leveina. How do we know that this Mishnah is Rabbi Yossi? Diyomer Rav Huna, because Rav Huna says, Kulei Pirkin Rabbi Yossi. Our entire parak is actually authored by Rabbi Yossi. How do we know that? Mimai, from where do we know that? Kavan to Katani, because it says in the Mishnah before, Rabbi Yossi says, Ein elu nidrei inoi nefesh, that these, talking about the Nedarim that have to do with bathing, etc., those are not considered to be Nedarim of affliction according to Rabbi Yossi. But the problem is, Lama leisu lemisna hareze yafer divrei Rabbi Yossi. Why does the Mishnah at the end then say further, he should annul the vow according to the opinion of Rabbi Yossi? It repeats the fact that this is Rabbi Yossi. Why repeat that? Shema mina mikan va'elech Rabbi Yossi. You see that from this point in the parak and onward, it's all Rabbi Yossi. And the Gemara continues, Amar Shmuel Mishmei de Levi. Shmuel says in the name of Levi, Kol Nedarim Baal Mefer L'Ishto, all vows a husband can annul for his wife, Chutz min hanoasi al ploni, except if she says, benefit from me is forbidden to so-and-so. She'eno Mefer, that he's not allowed to annul. Aval hanoas ploni olai, but if she says benefit from so-and-so is prohibited to me, so then Mefer, then the husband is allowed to annul such a vow. And the Mefarish explains, Kol Nedarim shel inoi nefesh, what Shmuel means to say in the name of Levi is, all Nedarim of affliction he's allowed to annul, Chutz min hanoasi al ploni she'eno mefer, except if she says that so-and-so cannot benefit from me. Delo have lo nidrei inoi nefesh, because that's not a neder of affliction. She's not afflicting herself. Velo devarim shebeino leveina, and it has nothing to do with the relationship. It affects ploni. It affects this other individual. Avol amra hanoas ploni olai. But if she says the benefit from so and so is prohibited to me, shelo ena mimenu, that I'm not going to get benefit from him, yafer, then the husband could annul that vow. To have nidrei inoi nefesh, that's considered a neder of affliction, even though she's only identifying one particular individual that she's not allowed to get hanoah from. And the Gemara continues, Tanan, we learned in our Mishnah, Peiros Medina Zu Alai, let's say she says, the fruits of this particular country is prohibited to me, so Yavi Lami Medina Acheres, he could just bring her fruits from another Medina, he cannot annul such a vow. And so that's a direct contradiction to what Shmuel just said, because Shmuel just said that if she says that so-and-so, I can't get hana from so-and-so, so then that's considered inoi nefesh, she's able to annul it. And here apparently just saying from a particular country, since you could get from a different country, so you can't annul such a vow. And so the Gemara answers, Amar Rav Yosef. Rav Yosef says, Deka Amar, what she says is as follows, Shetavi, what she's actually saying is, all the payros from this country that you bring from the country, that's going to be prohibited to me, but she's still really allowing the fruits from that country. She's just not allowing the particular fruits that her husband brings from that country. That neder already, it's not considered inoi nefesh, and he's not able to annul that vow. And the Gemara continues, Tashma coming here, another proof. Peiros chenvani ze olai. It also said in the Mishnah, if she says the fruits from this particular store are usher to me, ein yachol lahafir. Again, he can't annul that vow because you can just get from a different store. But again, that seems to be a contradiction to what Shmuel said, because she's identifying one particular store. It's no different than identifying one particular individual. So it says in the Mishnah he's not able to annul the vow, and Shmuel said he should be able to annul that vow. And again, the Gemara answers along the same lines, Hachanami here also, to Ka'amra Shatavi Ata, because she says the ones that you're going to bring from that store, but she's not even forbidding for herself everything that comes from that store. But the problem is, if you look at the end of the Mishnah, what does it say? It says, Lo haisa parnasaso ela mimenu. If the only place they can get fruit is from that particular store, that's the only store that will extend them credit, so then hareze yafir, then he is allowed to annul such a vow. But the Gemara says, 1 second, but if you're going to say that the Mishnah is talking about only the fruits that you, the husband, bring, those are the only fruits that are not permitted, but otherwise everything else is going to be permitted, so then amay yafir, so what's the need? Why do you have to annul the vow? You can still easily, he can still easily obtain the fruit, or she can easily obtain the fruit from that store, as long as it's not brought by the husband. Rather, from the fact that the end of the Mishnah is not talking about just the fruits that the husband brings, it's talking about that entire store. The Reisha of the Mishnah as well is talking about all fruits that she brings from that store, and he's not allowed to annul such a neder. And the Gemara says, you're right, Ela Reisha in Yachol Hafir. Really, in the Reisha, he's not able to annul the vow. And we're talking about all fruits that are brought from that store. And we'll take a look at the Mefarish over here. Amar Rav Yosef says, and this is going on the question that the Gemara brought from the case in the Mishnah where she says Medina Zu, this particular country. So Ki Katani Yavi La Mi Medina Acheres, when it says in the Mishnah they should just bring fruits from a different country, the Amra Peiros Medina Zu Shatavi Min Hashuk Alai. What she said was the fruits from this country that you bring from the marketplace are prohibited, and only those. But if others bring it, or if she brings it, she's able to derive benefit from those fruits, even though they're from that particular country. Hilkach lo yafer. Therefore, that's what the Gemara suggested. That's why he can't annul the vow to lo have inay klal. What the Gemara was saying is that's not even considered affliction at all. If all she says is the fruits that you bring from a particular country are usher, but even from that particular country it's going to be mutter if it's brought by someone else, that wouldn't be called inay at all. That was the attempted answer of the Gemara. But again, the Gemara eventually brings the case of the chenvani and says you can't interpret the case of the chenvani in that fashion because of the seif of the Mishnah, and therefore we're still left with a question on Shmuel. We'll continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Pei Beis Amud Beis.